weird race between who gets to do the cool panels first. So eat this panel, the action shot, and this, and then at the end would end up with the last 3 weeks of work would be all the stuff neither of us wanted to do, the background shot, drawing trees and buildings. But yeah, it was complete mind meld. We were trying to get half of each of us on every single page, and it was fantastic. So both Peter and I just done about every page of at least the first 15 issues. So.
Very cool. All right, let's get things started. What would you like to know?
So between, the comics and the cartoons and the toys, I mean, there's just been so many different variations on the franchise. One question I have is there any point in time where you're like, you would like to have done something different?
Well, it was, the Turtles were, it was just such the happiest possible accident ever, and that when we did the first book, like I said earlier, we never thought we'd sell a single copy, and when it started selling well, and then, we had a success with the comic books, and then when we started working on the cartoon show, it was, we'd already written original comic books for ourselves, and when we were working on the cartoon show, it was written specifically for like a 7-year-old, so everything that was done with it was so actually it was like we had the black and white comic books, it was a completely different version for a much younger audience, and then that worked, and we approved that look, and then when we did the Turtles movie, it was sort of a hybrid of half the animated stuff and the black and white stuff. But it was not, even when we had some of the artists in the early days coming in and doing turtle stories, pitching us turtle ideas, and we'd approve them and sometimes work with them on them and different levels of detail. But we grew up in comic books where, even like today, there's writers and artists that we follow from the Avengers to Spider-Man to, Todd McFarlane's drawn lots and lots of characters and some of the other talented people. So we were used to seeing different creative teams change, and we might like this version of Captain America better than that version, but we still liked them both because we just liked Captain America. So I guess the stuff that I do with the Turtles is like, I appreciate every single other version of what's being done with the Turtles, but the stuff that I do is just written for me, and that's my favorite version. And stuff I'd like to do with them. I still have a few Turtle Dream projects I'd like to do, but no, it's just, I love them all. It's like, it's like you can't like one of your kids any less than the others. Well, sometimes you can, but not always. I love all the different versions of them. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, the Turtles incarnations are really varied. I mean, just here in the front row, we got a T-shirt with Scratch, who's a relatively obscure action figure character. The shirt over there's got some of the Mighty Mutanimals, some of the cartoon incarnations of them, and Mirage Studios itself was a big part of that because you had a creative team of a few people who were all creating wild and different stuff for a completely varied Turtles universe. It's kind of like you were just making cool stuff, throwing it against the wall, seeing what stuck with your various publishers and distributors. What was that when you guys were starting that out like? Was that the idea? Like, we'll make all the crazy stuff, we'll see what they take? What did Mirage Studios as a collaborative space with all those people represent to you?
Well, a lot of it was like, when we did the original series, it was, we wrote through those stories that we wanted to see when we had other artists that were coming in, Jim Lawson, Steve Murphy, Mike Dooney, and Ryan Brown. We were at the best of times, when we could get on a regular schedule, we were putting out a Turtles book every 2 months. We started working on the licensing stuff. It became 3 months. And so we came up with this idea of doing Tales of the Turtles, Tales of the New Turtles, where we would take different artists that would then, would be issues done, exploring other ideas like, Rat King and Nobody and characters like that came out of the Tales series. And those would come out in the middle because, fans would be like, man, it takes you guys forever. We're doing these 40-page books, but it took us forever to get them out. But the rest of the stuff came basically out of need when, Dean Clarine, Steve Murphy, Ryan Brown, and that stuff, when Archie took out a license to do the Turtles to adapt the animated look as a cartoon series, comic book series to put out the newsstands. We wanted to produce it in-house, and those guys stepped up and they came up with a whole new Turtle universe based on the animated series. And so we always had like different parts, some edgier Turtles over here, animated Turtles there, guys doing licensing, video game designs or board game designs or coloring books, Random House. We produced most of that stuff in-house. So I had all these different Turtle universes running around, and an occasional Nerf gunfight.
You say you love all the versions, but I wanted to hear, who is your favorite turtle and why?
Thank you, good question. It is, like you said, it's hard to love one of your kids more than the others. Michelangelo has always been my favorite because he was the first turtle drawn. But when I write my own stuff, turtle stories I want to tell, I always gravitate towards Raphael. Because Michelangelo's, he's sort of stereotyped as a character is sort of specific. Leonardo's the leader, and he's that. Donatello's the technical one. You can gravitate towards stories that fit them better. But with Raphael, was such a wild card that you could sort of take him a lot of other places that you couldn't take the other characters, different emotional levels. And when you team him up with Casey Jones, you can end up something really serious or something incredibly silly. And most of the time, you find both in the same story. And that's Raphael's my favorite to write stories with. Thank you.
Hi. This is so cool. My question is, how do you respond to like all the internet pandemonium about like the new movies thing? Some people say it's gonna be good, some people say it's gonna be bad, some people say because of the cast and crew with Michael Bay, Megan Fox, everybody says it's gonna be different. How do you respond to all this, internet pandemonium and madness?
No, it's a great question because it's something that we've never not dealt with. I remember when even when we even in the comics community when we were working on the first cartoon series. And most of the comic book people weren't like, oh, good for you guys. You own your own characters, you're controlling your own characters, and you've decided because you want to control everything, you want to do a cartoon series, and you have final say in what's being done with that series. That's really great. We're really proud of you. That's great. Most of them said, sell out. I can't believe you did a stupid kid series. I can't believe, it was like, there was so much dislike, especially with the comics community, of that first Turtle series. It's like, well, you changed the bananas, you put like a little R or an M on the thing, and you did all this stuff. It was like, we said, well, it was our decision, it's our characters, but they hated us, and they hated that series when it first came out, and it's, the fans that discovered the Turtles through that was, the first time we had that kind of exposure, and that's what made the Turtles, I think, took them down the road to where they are. Once you had now fans of the animated series and the black and white series, and you sort of have the old guard versus the new guard. When we did the movie, because it was kind of a hybrid, the people that liked the animated series thought the movie didn't like the look of the Turtles. They said, oh, it's too edgy and it's scary. You don't do that. That's awful. And and the fans that like the black and white series said, oh, you're making it too kid-like, and you've gone the other way. Every movie that we've done, every project that we've done, from Venus to Milo, which is a long story there, which I like Venus. I worked on that hard, and we tried to make a great project out of that. But every different version is detractors. Even when we started the IDW series, the four turtles falling into the sewer, but Raphael gets separated, and April's back in the lab, and she's the one that names the turtles, not Splinter. And the things that we did there, we thought we were going to be crucified. We thought that the fans were going to be like, oh my God. And the same with the new animated series that Nickelodeon was doing. We just got tons and tons of internet traffic going like, oh, they look cardboard, they look stupid, we don't like them. Why are you guys doing them that way? And it's like, you're ruining my childhood. Do them like the old 80s cartoon. And with the Michael Bay movie, it's the same thing. And it's Jonathan Eastman is the director. Michael Bay is the producer. And when they started on the project, they came to me almost immediately and said, look, we want to make, if we've learned anything, Paramount produced the Avengers and they're producing the Turtle movie. They said, if we've learned nothing from the Avengers, we want to make this the best Turtle movie ever, but we want to try to sort of take it, make it a little bit of our own, if you will. And so I worked on the design, I have a cameo in the movie, I worked on the script, and I've seen a lot of the stuff, and I think it's going to be a great film. I think that, I almost, in a way, glad there's lower expectations of people going into it, because I think they'll find it's a lot better than what they think it's going to be in their mind, and hopefully it's going to be. But you look at Black and White Turtles, animated Turtles, 2007 animated show, the 2000 series, animated series, Venus de Milo, the live action, every different version of the Turtles is slightly different, done a different way. And you guys have come out every time and embraced it, and hopefully you'll do the same with the movie. It's going to be a lot of fun. If not, after August 8th, I'm going to go find a hole in the ground. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
And the Turtles are interesting because, like, from a marketing perspective, people would describe them as an evergreen property, like Mickey Mouse or Mario, right? But they have far more varied incarnations than just about anything. Even Batman, the Turtles get more diverse than a traditional Big Two comic character.
Yeah, it's great. You know, if you look at like the different versions of Superman, your Batman, Gothic Knights, to whatever. No, it is. I think the Turtles are a bit more varied, and I always keep coming down to the only reason I'm sitting up here 30 years after Peter and I drew the first Turtles is it's your fault, your fault, your fault. But thank you. If you guys didn't come out and enjoy at least some aspect of the Turtles and have some love for them, then that's what's really because you can have buzzwords like, oh, they're evergreen, or oh, they're this, or they can try to manipulate an idea to be that kind of success, but it doesn't mean anything unless you guys like it. So that's where the buck stops. That's where it ends.
On the topic of movies, there was a time after the third live-action Turtles film, you guys were actually soliciting. I saw some ads for a fourth live-action film with a fifth turtle named Kirby, and I know very, very little about that project.
Well, that's the origin of Venus, de Milo.
Oh yeah.
But it was like, what we did was, and I'll make it as brief as I can, so none of you fall asleep. But when we did. We were developing a fourth movie with New Line, and they wanted a fifth turtle, so we wanted to do, again, homage to Kirby, Jack Kirby, so we came up with a fifth male turtle named Kirby, and some ooze got further down the thing and exposed a different kind of turtle than what the Turtles came from. And we developed the whole story, and I think we did 2 or 3 versions of the script, and then New Line decided that they didn't want to be in the turtle business anymore, so they passed on the project. It was picked up by another company called Motion Picture Corporation of America. We developed it further with them. They then couldn't raise the money for it, and this was around the time that the cartoon series was coming off the air, and we were working on the live-action, developing a live-action series with Margaret Lesh and Chaim Saban over at Saban. And Kirby was the fifth turtle. We took that idea and incorporated it into the TV series. And I tell you, we developed this for scripts, and we sort of beat the whole thing out, and it was like in the 11th hour of just before sort of finalizing, Margaret Lesh decided, I don't want the fifth turtle to be a guy turtle, I want it to be a girl turtle. And we were like, so we really didn't like that idea. We already sort of felt that we pushed it as far as we could to do the guy turtle adapted into where's my sunglasses? Adapted into the movie, make that work as something that fit into the Turtles' history and the Turtles' legend, I guess, if you will. And she basically said, well, if there's no girl turtle, there's no show. We're not going to do it. And Pete said, look, I don't want any part of it. If you want to try to manage a show and see if you can make it work, and good luck to you. And so that's where Kirby became Venus.
Wow.
It's Hollywood. They don't give crap.
Yeah.
So we just try to make it work within that parameters, and some people like it, some people don't. And I worked hard on it anyway.
Cool.
I heard that Michael Bay wanted to do the Turtles from Outer Space. What was your thoughts on that? Did that make you mad, or?
Well, he was drunk. No, what's funny was I've been working with the writers and Jonathan Eastman working on the story, and a lot of you know, if you read the original comic books, the Turtles' mutagen, the Turtles' ooze comes from outer space, the TCRI aliens, the Krang, all that stuff, that's where the mutagen originated from. And so the Turtles' origins, this muse is basically of alien origin. And I think Michael Bay had just come off like a grueling schedule where he was just finishing up Transformers, and the Transformers movie, and was going up to say this presentation, and they were like, the writers were like, okay, there's this alien ooze, and they do this, and he's like, okay, got it. And he walked up on stage and said, yeah, the Turtles are going to be aliens. And you're like, what? No. And so in Hollywood, if you have bad press, it can be almost as, it can actually be better than good press sometimes. So that's where the basis of that started, was that the Turtles were aliens, and it's basically the oozes of alien origin. And we looked at a lot of different Turtle story ideas, and some of them I won't tell you about. Way before Michael Bay and Jonathan Eastman came in, and some of them were just ludicrous. But ultimately, the director and Michael said, we really want to stick to the what made the Turtles great in the first place, and make a great movie and lots of action and fun stuff. So, good question.
In the most recent trailer, there's actually a kind of jab at that rumor that I thought was great. That was someone says, like, "Are you guys aliens?" Like, no, that's stupid.
That's fine.
How do you feel about Michael Bay producing the new movie? Since there were so many explosions in Transformers.
I think it's like every 3 minutes there has to be an explosion, or he won't do a movie. No, I think one of the things that when you look at the movies that Michael Bay's done, I think he makes great movies. He makes big movies. He's not he's not going to win an Academy Award for the kinds of movies that he does. But if you go into it, have a good time and eat popcorn and be like, whoa, and that. But I think that he has a specific, he's a style of director that likes that kind of stuff, and that's what Paramount wanted to do this. And so I think that, and Jonathan Eastman, he's done a couple movies that are equally big effects, and some are popcorn movies. So hopefully that, if the stories are strong as the writers, Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec that wrote the story, if the stories are strong as I know it is, and what they've done with it, then it'll be a nice combination of lots of explosions and a good story.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I love April O'Neil, and I actually dressed up as her yesterday.
I remember you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to know what inspired you to make April O'Neil.
Well, April was a great character because we wanted to, it was a guys club. We had 4, teenage boys, and then we had, Splinter being the father figure, and we wanted to have a big sister kind of character that, someone that could sort of bring in, a different perspective and all that. So, and it was an idea that we sort of had when we first developed the idea of Baxter Stockman in the second issue. And we wanted someone that was smart. She was a scientist. She was no pushover. She was like in 1985, a modern woman that could take care of herself and sort of still be that sister of the turtles. The sister the turtles never had. So that was the original idea. We just wanted a sister, a female, to be part of the group, and we fell in love with her, and it was fun to have her as part of the thing. I love you like the new version of April? It's so cool. I thought it was one of the things that Zero did great was to age her down to, I think she's 16 in this one, and the Turtles are 15, so it really adds a neat dynamic to the group. It's very cute. Thank you. Thanks for dressing up yesterday. That was cool.
Yeah, the Nickelodeon show is a really exciting, it's very classic in its scope of Turtles, but then they did so much that was different. Like having April and Casey be teenagers like they were opened up so many possibilities to things that felt like true Turtle stories, but at the same time, vastly different from what was possible before. It was good. We've still got time for more questions. If there's anybody else who wants to ask a question, just come right on up and you can ask. All right, go for it.
5 minutes or so.
There are a lot of different interpretations of the Turtles, different comics and movies and cartoons. Other than the original Mirage stuff, do you have a favorite interpretation of the Turtles, like one of the cartoons or even the new IDW comic?
I'd say the IDW comic is the closest thing to. I feel the way I'm working on the IDW comics is closest to what I felt, which is hard to compare to when Peter and I originally did the comic book. So I'm having as much fun doing that as a lot of the original stuff. But the ultimate, I think the best Turtle entertainment project ever done was the first Turtle movie, which I thought was the best version. I saw it recently. It was kind of funny that I saw it recently on the big screen. I hadn't seen it probably 15 years, and it was some of the stuff held up really well. I think the animatronics, the jokes still held up well. Some people, including myself, laughed at stuff that you didn't laugh the first time you saw it because some of the effects were a little dated and a little goofy, but it's a really fun movie. It's my favorite version.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last question. And just so everybody knows, these guys are going to have to rush down there because there's over 200 people in line waiting for signatures. So, yeah, you got your work cut out for you.
What is wrong with you guys?
Stretch your hands.
Holy smokes.
Did you put any of Did you put any certain aspects of your own personality into the Turtles themselves, and which ones in particular?
Mostly the really, really cool ones. No, it was what was great about this, Pete's the most like Donatello, I think, in many ways. I sort of gravitate towards, I put some of the things that I might do or would like to think I would do into Raphael in Casey, but everything from, you know, family, friends. Steve Levine was a guy that I went to high school with, and he used to let out all the original comic books, and he's one of the artists. He was like the funniest guy I ever met, and he was my inspiration for Michelangelo. And, you know, I think like any writer, people that you meet, personalities, even characters you see on TV shows, or inspire you. And one of my favorite characters was, in the development of Casey Jones as a character, I saw a movie called Big Trouble in Little China, and Jack Burton, I love that movie. And I was like, Kurt Russell as Jack Burton was just the funniest thing ever. And so that was, I said, that's Casey Jones. So every time I write Casey Jones in a story, I always think like, what would Jack Burton do in this situation? But yeah, it really comes from everywhere. Inspiration from everywhere. Great question, thank you. So.
Kevin, thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much. Before all of you